I am interested to know, how do you think we got to where we are? If you start with the assumption that Australians are decent people.
Well, I do start with the assumption that Australians are decent people. If you look at how we react at times with national crisis or bushfires or the Olympics, people, do reach out to each other in a compassionate way. I think Australians have effectively been lied to on this issue. We're here because of a lack of quality leadership and the inability to tell Australians the truth. So if people don't know, they can easily be made afraid of things they don't know or people they don't know when they've been told lies about them.
Now, you spend a lot of time in other countries, including places like Canada, America and Britain and so on. What reaction have you had from them to the sort of stuff that we're doing?
Disbelief, Julian. Shock. I remember having a meeting in Canada and talking about the fact, perhaps some people from Nauru and Manus maybe could possibly be resettled there. How would the Canadians feel about that? And they just said, well, why don't you take them to Australia? And when I said, what are the numbers? About 1,600. Well, then people just shake their heads, and it's embarrassing. Now, only 1% of the people who seek resettlement get resettled. And so we have the myth that says, there's a queue. The queue jumpers if you come by boat. Well, there is no such thing as a queue. What there is a ticket in a lottery, if you're lucky. So if people land there or come in out of the ocean, and look, we're living in an island, they get demonised and called illegal. If you come by plane just over there at the airport, well, that's okay. Well, you can come in and we can work with you.
Of course, you can only come in by plane if you can get a visa. And you can only get a visa, A, if you get travel documents from the country of origin,
that's
and
right.
B, if Australia says, it's okay, you can come here as a tourist,
exactly.
As a student, whatever.
Yeah. And of course, those people who are unable to get visas, unable to get papers of identity, tend to be the people who are on the run. And the vast majority of people, say for example, who've escaped from the Taliban who come by boat, we're talking well in advance of 90% of those people have valid claims. So we know when we turn those people back or when we treat them cruelly that we're actually effectively punishing refugees for daring to escape from the Taliban. And I've been in Afghanistan and seen what the Taliban can do. We don't have any real deep sense in this country anymore of what war actually feels like, what it smells like. I hope Australians really never have to experience it, frankly. But, there's a man that came here and was 3 years on Nauru, was sent back. He's got 4 little kids and a wife that live in Kabul. But if he stays with them, he puts them at risk, so he can't stay. So even though he's in his own country, he can't stay with them. And I said, what are you looking for? And he said, my dream is to one day take my youngest child by the hand and take her to school. That's what I dream of. Now, we take that for granted in this country.
You followed a number of Hazaras back to Afghanistan to see what happens to them, because we thought it was safe, given that the Taliban had been removed from government. So what did you actually find?
Well, we found the number of people had been killed. We think that number now is up around 31, and it was never safe. The Taliban were always going to come back. And I remember that picture of Quetta in Pakistan where the Hazaras would go to get registered with the UN. And in the square, the Taliban had brought a truck in and blown up 158 people on one particular morning. There's pictures of the Hazara men running out to pick up the dead and wounded and take them to safety. But up behind the square is this huge, gigantic poster with one of those boats we used to see off Christmas Island saying, "Don't risk your life going to Australia by boat."
Yes.
It cost about $31 million to put up these poster campaigns. And this is the whole point. That poster is not meant for people in that square. It's not meant for the Hazaras. It's meant for punters here to look at that and say, our government's been tough on asylum seekers.
We sometimes fail to notice what it must take for a person to be so desperate to risk their lives at sea, to move to a country with a radically different culture, different language, different everything. It's not what you'd choose to do. It's not because we are the most gorgeous country on earth. No. It's because you're desperate.
Because you're desperate and you're out of options. This global nature of this means you've got to be concerned for people who you don't see. And that's where we've lost a lot of our sort of moral integrity in the country, because compassion is being displayed as a form of weakness. But ultimately it's our greatest civilising strength. And I think our politicians years from now will pay a heavy price. And one day, you know, a Prime Minister will rise in our national parliament and will make a formal apology on behalf of the nation for the harm that's been done to these refugees and asylum seekers today.
By our politicians who now are acting like criminals and who will not themselves be punished for it.
That's true.
Yeah.
What we need is some leadership to actually return the country to some decency and moral compass and help people before they get in a boat, before they're forced into a boat.